Hey, everybody. Yes, welcome back to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Jason Rothman. As always, and once again, I'm joined by the great Chris Schaefer. Chris, I'm just going to say it. You've got your nice shirt that you leave
Yeah,
in your
I knew it.
office. It's the
I
same
knew.
one. You've
Yep.
swapped out the undershirt. We're all
Yep.
relieved to see that. You went with a nice black today instead of the
hmm
maroon. Couldn't get to the white undershirt, but you've got a black one on there. Not the maroon one, but the same nice shirt that you leave in the
I
office.
yeah. I don't
How are
leave,
you doing?
Jason. I just work. I just, when I get tired, when
Same
I need
here.
to
Yeah.
clean up, I just change undershirts and just I keep going. I just take a
Like a
little
machine.
bucket shower. Just kind of splash some water, get clean, keep going. I'm a working man here. Got a lot to do.
Good. Well, you look good. You look nice because of the nice shirt, and it's good to see
Because
you.
of the nice shirt.
We're
the
doing
top, the
a
top
little
looks okay.
bonus
Yeah.
episode for everybody. This is coming
Yeah.
out. Should be out on a Thursday instead of a Monday,
Mm-hmm.
and we're happy to do it because we have a special bonus episode of the Paid Search Podcast where we're going to be talking more towards the professional audience, Chris, the freelancers, the agencies, and we're going to be talking about how to create a professional report for Google Ads and kind of talking about our experience with reporting. And this episode is brought to you by Opteo and their amazing reporting feature inside of the Opteo software. And we'll be walking through that extensively on a screen share later in the episode. So make sure to check out the episode on YouTube. But Chris, does that kind of cover it for the intro? It's a
Yeah.
special episode. It's our
Yeah. This
first
is
special episode ever. It's pretty cool.
yeah, this is something we don't do very often at all. Jason, it's hard to get you twice a week, so this is a special thing. Get that special
Yeah,
Jason
I've been
smile
worried
twice a
about
week.
trying to find two shirts, and I think the lesson from today is that you don't have
Mm,
to.
you don't have to.
So I'll just leave this one in the office, and we can do as many two
Yeah,
episode weeks as you want, Chris.
why? It's fine. Most people are listening anyway. They can't even see it. They have no idea
Oh, they know.
until you
I'm
until
getting
you mention it.
I get messages from clients that want to do consulting with me, and they make me say specifically that I will not comment on their fashion choices when we go on the screen share because they're worried about that because they say I'm so
Yeah,
critical
yeah.
on your
You're pretty
fashion
rough.
choices. I'm
Pretty
really
rough.
not. It's just when you come on here with the maroon undershirt
It's
or the second
classy.
week in a row with the same nice shirt, I've got to say something, you know.
I know. I know. I asked for it. When we hit the record button, I was like, "Did I wear this shirt last time?" It's too late then. It's too
Well,
late.
hey, no more minds at all because that face that's sitting on top of that
Mm,
shirt is so handsome,
thank you.
just so handsome, movie star looks.
Now I'm ready to go. Now I feel
Now you're
good.
ready to
Thank
go.
you.
Yeah,
Now
good,
I'm ready to
good.
go. I'm ready. And Jason, it is a special episode because we're actually going to talk to a little bit more segmented group. This is something that really applies to everyone, but we're going to move off to the side of Google Ads a little bit and talk about the reporting of a Google Ads campaign. And particularly, this is going to be people who are managing it for their boss and they need to report it to their boss. They're a freelancer, they're an agency. I mean, this is real life, monthly, sometimes, multiple times a month kind of issues that we don't address very often. And the fact is, for a long time, years and years, both you and I, in our own separate companies, were completely stressed at the difficulty, the complexity, the amount of work involved with reporting. And
Yeah.
now the technology out there is just amazing, and it's super important to give these reports to clients to keep them updated. Whether you're reporting internally to your own boss, to your manager, you need to communicate this information is critically important, and you need to do it in a time efficient way.
Yeah, and I think if we speak to the importance of reporting in Google Ads for your boss, for other parties at your company, or for your clients if you're an agency, the whole reason why it's important is because Google Ads is important. It's a big part of companies' marketing budgets, and the whole reason they've hired you at your company or they've hired you as an agency is because they do not understand Google Ads to the extent that you do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for them to be able to understand what you're doing and the results they're getting from the Google Ads campaigns, they're not going to be, they're pretty much not ready. It's not going to be beneficial for them to look at the Google Ads account themselves, because if they could do that, they wouldn't need you. And so there needs to be this kind of process, this outside of the Google Ads interface reporting system, so that people you're working for can get the data they need in a way that they can understand.
Yeah.
And then, Chris, you speak to this a lot, combining like people in your and I's shoes, combining our knowledge of Google Ads with the knowledge of the business owner or someone who's been at a business for a long time, their knowledge about their specific industry and business and their customers. And if you can translate the Google Ads knowledge and data to them in a nice report, they can then in return go, oh no, we don't want to show up on this keyword, or no, we don't want a lot of our budget going to this kind of keyword because it's a lower margin thing, or wow, why don't we have any searches for this? We're not seeing it. And then when they look at the ads, them seeing that visually, they can kind of give you guidance on that. So it's a great way to kind of collaborate with your clients. And that's why it's so important, because you can kind of tell them what you're doing. That said, Chris, it's extremely important, but you mentioned this earlier, when you're starting out, it can be extremely difficult to do a monthly reporting process. So kind of speak to why many people, including our earlier selves, have found it so difficult.
Yeah, I mean, years ago, long time ago, when I started Google Ads, there was no automated reporting system, period. I mean, you had to open up an Excel document, you had to open up a spreadsheet and copy the stuff, over. And, you would have kind of a template and you would have to grind through. And this stuff was in no way a simple process. You had to do it by hand. And now we're to the point, a couple of years ago, when that was done for you and, the reports looked okay. At the point now, you have options now. You have options, and the best choice that you can make should be something based on keeping your job focused on Google Ads and the communication part, not the clicky, customize kind of, nope, move this around, oh, this is broken kind of stuff. The harder it is to get that right, the less time that you have to do other things that are more important, like actually managing Google Ads campaigns and stuff like that. The time sink that can be involved in a bad reporting system is killer. I mean, I remember back before, whatever you're doing now, Jason, the first of the month, you would look so much more stressed because
you wanted to see me for the first 10 days.
Yeah. We would schedule the podcast around that first of the month because those first 3 days of the month would just be destroyed. You can't do anything because you're writing reports and sending
the difficulty, emails. I think you mentioning technology, you're keying in on like the main problem that has been, and now Opteo is solving. But the main problem has been that as a Google Ads manager, there's so much, and like so much more now going on in Google Ads accounts. There's so much going on, and you're excited about the results. You're seeing really important things, and like sometimes you don't have like a finished cake. You're still like baking the cake, and like you want to present the data in a way that shows the value that you're creating and the value that can come down the road if you're not there yet to your client, to your stakeholder. But if the technology is not there, pretty much the only way to convey the value was to just punch it out manually, which once you get up to 5-10 clients or more, it's not really doable in a timely fashion. So that's where the difficulty comes from, was the lack of technology. Now we have the technology. We'll be talking about that later in the episode. But I agree with you. Like, I was thinking about reporting this week, and it's I'm the king of metaphors. I can't think of another situation that kind of is the same with reporting, because like the weird thing about it is that reporting it's fundamental to Google Ads management. It's entirely important. Like, it's critical, but at the same time, your mission should be to spend the least amount of time on reporting as possible. So it's like you can't live without it, but you don't want to live with it because it needs to literally be like a automated 1-second thing if possible, or relatively like that. So it's a weird thing where it's very important, but it's your job not to spend a lot of time on it. as a Google Ads manager, because like you're saying, Chris, you need to be in the account, managing the account. On top of that, I would argue it's your job to make sure your stakeholder that's receiving your report spends the least amount of time possible digesting that report. They should be able to look through that within 5 minutes and know exactly what's going on and know exactly what they want to convey back to you. So it's a weird thing where it's like super important, but for all parties involved, you want it to go as quick as possible. And
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else in life
And
that's kind of like that. Does that make sense, Chris?
yeah, yeah. And the funny thing is, you might spend tons and tons of time on your report, and the client, your boss, whoever it is, does not care, and just glances at the report, and you're like, I spent an hour writing these paragraphs, and coming up with this special graph and stuff like that. That's a lesson I learned pretty quick. From spending so many hours and writing up these complex things. And there's some very specific things that Opteo's done with their reporting system that is so unique, that solves that problem, that it's pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, you may spend tons of time. You may say, well, I don't want automated because the personalized aspect is really important. How much time do your clients really take reading that report? Ask them like, how, do you really read the report? Because what they really want is just this straight stuff. They just want a straight answer. I think it's really important.
And a lot of them want different things, and that's the beauty of customizable reports. Some of them want more commentary. Some of them, if you create a graph the exact right way, that's exactly what they need to see month to month. Or maybe they're just more focused on KPIs, key performance indicators, cost per conversion, spend, and change month over month. So I like the ability to make custom reports. And like what we're saying, it needs to be the least amount of time for all parties involved. The business owners, they don't have time to read through reports that are not set up for them because they got to run their business. So you got to set it up for them. So Chris, with that said, we've broken this down into 5 tips to make the best Google Ads reports possible. And then after we go through these tips, we're going to go through a screen share of the Opteo reporting system so everyone can see that. Now, Chris, let's get into the 5 tips. So the 5 tips for the best Google Ads reports: it must look professional and be easy to read. Kind of break that down.
Yeah. So obviously, Google Ads is, it's notorious for, when you compare it to those other silly advertising platforms out there, what's the one thing that Google Ads is known for? Complexity and like tons of things that overwhelm people. The amount of metrics and things, they've tried to simplify it, but the fact is there's so much to look at. And if you can find a reporting system that is clean and looks like it provides that information in a clean way, and it's readable to a layman, that's the very first thing. Because I don't care what else you do, whether you can generate the report easily, whether it has all these other great graphs and stuff like that, it needs to look good and it needs to be easily consumable, easily readable. That's the first thing, because you're not the end person here. The end person is your client, the person that you're writing the report for. It's not for you. So that's critical number 1 to me. Easily readable, understandable.
And to me, easily readable comes down to consistency and people expecting the same format, the same style each month. I like the ability to send a consistent looking report. That's obviously a lot different than when we started and we were just punching out commentary for each client, and every month was different. But yeah, professional, easily readable, and then a very consistent look. And if you're like, I don't have a background in graphic design, but Opteo has capabilities to kind of help you with that, with logos and things like that. And we'll get into that, which is a very cool thing. So the second tip for making the best Google Ads reports is reports need to be easy to generate and they need to be something you can customize. So kind of speak to that.
Yeah. So as long as it is something that's readable, then it should be repeatable. You need to be able to do this at scale, right? You said it earlier, is sure, when you have 1 or 2 clients, then absolutely you can do those couple reports and not be under any kind of stress. That's totally doable. I think you can still do it better. If you have one or two clients, you can still do it better with a system like Opteo's, but
Yeah.
you can handle it. But when you start to scale this, these reports need to be generated easily, and they need to be customizable with the proper logo. Sometimes you do white label, Jason. I know you and I both deal with that. You need to be able to swap your name out for the agency that you're doing the work for, and be able to share their name instead of yours. So there are things that need to be able to be customized and changed, and then you need to be able to scale that out and generate them quickly, because this point number 2 is all about time investment, getting it done, and getting it done quickly, and moving past that first of the month nightmare.
Yeah, and you mentioned the first of the month. Some people out there might be tempted to think, well, I have 15 clients, and how long does it take to really make a report for each of them? I'm just going to add an extra 10 minutes to each client's amount of work that I'm allocating to them each month. And you may think that, but it never ends up being 10 minutes when you're creating a report from scratch, or sending out a long email. And the other thing that's makes this process very difficult if you don't have a good system in place is that it all happens at once. It all happens at the end of the month, or the first of the month. And there's also a lot of other incoming around that time of the month. There's billing, there's questions from clients, and it's very difficult to kind of create those reports from scratch. So you want something that you can easily generate. Chris's third tip here is very interesting. Reports should include personalized commentary.
That's
Might
a
sound
debatable one. Yeah.
I was going to say it's going to be controversial. It's very difficult to do if you don't have some of the tools that we'll see later on in this episode. But at the end of the day, personalized commentary, I don't think you can argue against it. Like, it's a good thing to be able to add context to the data that someone's seeing on the page. It's just a question of being able to do that at scale with different tools that softwares can provide these days, like Opteo. So, Chris, that commentary in general, let's kind of just speak about that for a minute.
Yeah.
What is that commentary like? Should it be extensive? Should it be short? How do you look at commentary? And like, do you just look at it as like explaining data?
So I think you were correct when you brought up how I approach things. I am a Google Ads expert. I'm not an expert in their business. So what I can do best is I can communicate the metrics. I can communicate what this means and what's important. The raw data is very difficult to digest, very difficult for people to understand. What they need is an interpretation. Just like if I look at a readout of my MRI, I'm not going to understand what I'm looking at. I need a doctor, I need a professional to tell me what I'm looking at. That's our place as the manager. So the personalized commentary, I think, is very important. But you hit on an important point there. How far do you go with that personalized commentary? I'll tell you, years and years ago, as I said, I spent hours on this. I would write miniature little reports. It'd be like half a page report, multiple paragraphs, until my longest running client, I'd been with him for years and years, even back then, and he said, yeah, I got on the phone with them, after sending the report, and they're like, yeah, I saw your report, but I'll tell you what, Chris, when I'm feeling, sleepy, these are great from, just put me right to bed every night. This is my best client who loves me, and it's still with me today. I mean, I've had him for like 12 years. They don't find the report to be helpful, and they just want to cut straight to the meat. That should be a good indication that when you do commentary, when you add something to it, personable, that they can read, it should be concise and short.
Yeah, and there's a reason for the commentary to explain that data, and explaining that data should not take that long if you explain it in a clear way. Good example is like, you got 10,000 impressions this month. The KPI section, key performance indicator. The reason I repeat that, Chris, is because one time I worked at an agency and I was a young man, just a young man. And not everyone, but a few guys would say KPI over and over, and they wouldn't explain what that means. And I didn't know what that means. And it made me feel silly. And
I agree
really, they were the silly ones because all they had to do was say it one time.
One time. Yeah,
and I'm just making up for it here. That's why I say it every time.
I agree with you.
People that don't say it.
That's why sometimes when I say CTR, I follow up with click-through rate. When I say CPC, I say cost per click, because we have new listeners all the time.
Yeah.
So
CPA, cost per acquisition.
Cost per
SIS, search impression share.
Oh, SIS. That's not one I say very often.
Lost to neither do I. I'm just trying to come up with stuff. But I think that kind of wraps it up. Click-through rate, cost per acquisition. So yeah, Chris. So let's say you have 10,000 impressions right there on the report. In that commentary, you can explain maybe how that relates to the industry, if that's good or bad. What you think of it as the manager, translate that data. You don't necessarily need to go into an impression is when someone sees the ad. Gosh. An impression on display is when someone sees the ad for more than 1 second or scrolls down the page, whatever. You don't have to get into all of that, especially month after month after month. But speaking of month after month after month, monthly comparisons, another controversial topic here, Chris.
Number 4.
How do you feel about the 4th tip here, including monthly comparisons, month over month comparisons in your reports?
Yeah. So this was extremely difficult years ago. And again, keeping to number 2 rule, easily generated and customized, this is something that is easy to do. You can find a reporting system. I think Opteo does an excellent job of this, of communicating nice little, arrows, green arrows, indicators that this C-level person that you're reporting to, whoever's the person that's making that decision, up arrow, down arrow, no arrow, something like that. They just want to know, did this go up? Did it go down? Did it not change really much at all? The small percentage changes is what they're looking for. If you say you got 13 conversions, they're going to say, okay, well, what did we do last year at this time? What did we do last month? Are we up? Is that down? Who knows? So that is, I think it's an absolute necessity because it takes a lot of the guesswork of what they're going to be asking immediately. That's the first thing they're going to ask. Are we up or are we down? That's what they want to know.
Yeah, and a few things about this. Like, one is it's extremely difficult to do if you don't have an automated software, because you've got to go back into Google Ads and pull the data, not just for 1 month, but 2 months. The second thing is that this is a great place to layer on some commentary, because a lot of times month over month comparisons, and that's why I was saying that earlier, unless they're explained, they can be taken the wrong way by a lot of different people. So, click-through rate going down month after month, that might look bad, but without some context about what you've done to the cost per click or a cost per conversion with lower bidding potentially. So I like the ability to add some commentary when clients see those month over month comparisons, but they do give more context to the current set of data. And if you like the results you're getting, there's nothing wrong with not that big of a change month to month. Once an account is in a really good state. I think that's something a lot of people don't understand. You want to talk to that, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, the best thing you can do is provide consistency. I mean,
once it's in really good shape.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Once it's in good shape. I mean, that I talk about this all the time in consulting that I do. You don't have to double conversions. You don't have to change things for the purpose of just changing them. And in the report, you don't have to show amazing leaps forward. It's just, we were down a little bit, up a little bit, give some context. And that's where that personalized commentary can make a big difference, to kind of give you some information there. But that's great.
And the 5th tip, this is my favorite. Reports should be customized for each client. Everybody's different, Chris, and everybody takes in information in different ways, and everybody has a different priority on different sets of information that they find valuable to them. So the ability to customize the report for each client that's an important thing for you?
Yeah. Easiest example. You have a client who is e-commerce based, right? They're selling shoes online. Okay. Then you have a roofer that you're providing services for. These two clients are so different. One, the primary thing you should report on is return on ad spend, ROAS.
Yeah.
That's for the e-commerce client. It's unlikely that your roofing client is going to have or value that ROAS. It's not going to be nearly as accurate as that e-commerce. Those are two different reports. Everything else can be the same, but the primary thing on like headline 1, page 1 of your report should be swapped over. You should be able to customize this information, and that's what I mean by custom by the client, because some clients may not even have conversions. I have plenty of clients that don't even track conversions. They're interested in just quality of traffic and maintaining those kind of things, and you may not want to even have conversion data in there.
Excuse me. Yeah. And then in some cases with some clients, even if they're both in the lead generation space, like two different roofers, I've had situations where, like in the past, with like say a roofer had been working with someone before me, and they had been burned on keywords, and broad keywords kept popping up in the account because the manager didn't really know what they were doing. And they got really frustrated about that. The client got really frustrated about that, and they got frustrated about broad keywords eating up all the budget and some low quality traffic coming in. And they're very focused on not having broad keywords. That's like the main reason they hired me in some cases. In those cases, sometimes they just want to see a report that says what they spent, what their conversion data look like, and then the keyword page, and just show me my keywords. That's all I want to see, because I want to make sure my money's going to stuff I want to show up on. I've had an attorney once, Chris, screamed at me in my first meeting with them. It felt kind of good. I needed it, and I liked it. But he screamed at me because he was so angry about the keywords he was showing up on with his former manager. And I guess he had gone back over and over with them, like, no, not these keywords. No, not these keywords. We do this specific thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I got it. And he yelled again.
Now.
I was like,
Won't
I like that.
Again,
and
sir.
It got it. Yeah, I was like,
please, another one.
I told him again, we'll get it done. And then he yelled again. And it's been with me for many, many years. It's been great.
Yeah.
And I send him a custom keyword report every week because that's what he wants to see. In other cases, you have people that say, hey, I trust you. I like the results we're getting. I'm busy. Send me a one-pager. Show me my spend. Show me my conversion data.
Good point.
And then just make sure that comes in every month. So being able to customize is very, very important. So, Chris, we're at a special point in the episode here. We are going to do something that's been asked for many times from our audience.
Special.
You're going to get visual here. We're going to do a screen share, and we're going to walk through Opteo's reporting system. Before that, and as we're getting set up for that, Chris, I just want you to remind everybody about the trial we always offer, where they can access it, and how it's not just reporting. So why don't you walk everyone through that?
Yeah, so I give this pitch all the time. And guys, now this pitch is even better. So they're still offering the 2-month free trial. That hasn't changed. That's specifically at opteo.com/PSP. That's the normal stuff you've heard before. But there's a special link in the description where you can go and you can see for yourself what this reporting looks like. And this is a free trial of the whole system. You now get their amazing suggestion automated system that is so smart that it can help you optimize your campaign in a fraction of the time, all of your clients, and you get the reporting that we're going to show here in a moment. And it's all for the same great deal. There's no additional fee to be able to get this reporting. It's all included. So I tell you what, this software keeps getting better and better. Everyone that I talk to asks about it, like, hey man, thanks for telling me about Opteo. You can try it too, opteo.com/PSP, or check the special link in the description to see why it matters even more to try this amazing tool thanks to the reporting. And with that, Jason, we're going to jump into a very special section where I have here on the screen a new report. So we're going to go through, we talked about the 5 things that really matter. Right here on the screen, I have an example of what this Opteo software looks like. And this is how you create a report. You can name the report, choose the reporting period, and then choose your theme. Flip through a couple of these here. Jason, what I like about it is it's simple. It looks professional. That was one of the first things I had talked about, readable. We'll see what the actual report looks like, but you can change the summary, the templates. They're easily, you can flip through them or create your own template. So you might create a template for or a cost per conversion client or a no conversion client at all. You can create those templates and then assign
White label.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. White label stuff has all the information. If you need to add, additional information in the reports, it's all right here. It's super easy. And this, without further delay, is the best part. So all that stuff was setting up the report. This is what the report looks like. And we'll go through here. And here's the cover, Jason. Always, cover always is important. Everybody has a cover page.
I really like this one, Chris. And if you scroll up, I just want to look at this visually for a second. I like that you see the very good bakery, and then the color on the report is the same blue. I like the ability to do that. There's something about that this is all not just a white space, which is one of the templates if you want, but I really like the one with the color. You got the date range that this covers in the upper right corner. You've got your agency if you want it with the white label option there. If you don't want it, you don't have to, but you've got the option there to put your kind of branding on there. And then the client's branding. It's a customized report to them. It looks very professional.
Yeah. And I'm chomping at the bit here because this is one of the big items that I talked about. We number one was looking professional. I think if you're visually seeing this, check it out on YouTube so you can see it. Yeah. You can see what this looks like. When you're seeing it, Jason, here's the green arrows pointing up, pointing down, stuff like that. You can see here's the spend, here's the conversions, here's the cost per conversion, here's the impressions. All the important things that you want to show, they're on the page. They're right there. And should I go ahead and just talk about this? Because I really want to share. This, you may not, this, you can highlight this section over here, and I can change the text that's on the screen. Okay, so this text, which I'll talk about where this text comes from, but I can delete this and then write my own, thing. So this is the report for, this month, and things, went really well, blah, blah, blah. You can type it. That is so much easier than creating a Word document, putting in a screenshot of the Google Ads, dashboard, and then writing something underneath. It's already here for you. The fact that you can just type it and add bolding and bullet points and stuff like that right into the system. Customizable, personalized commentary, like the point number 3 we had talked about. Amazing. I don't see things like this in other reporting softwares.
Yeah, and for all the professionals out there, you can see on the left side the advice from Opteo about keeping it simple. Yeah. If your client doesn't know a lot about Google Ads or digital marketing, and then the data is right there. So sometimes it's going to be good news, sometimes it's not, and it's right there in front of you. But you can give them some context and showing it to them, telling them the bad news, telling them why, giving it some context. That can build trust over time with your clients. And we'll talk about where that commentary comes from, Chris, in a minute, because it's a very cool feature. But I agree with you. I love that it's in the same place as the data. So as you're writing it, you can look at the data.
Yeah. And of course, every Google Ads report is going to have graphs. They're all going to look different. I personally like the graph. But what's special is you notice on this next page, the spend summary. The conversion summary, all these graphs, they each have an opportunity to show this text where you can change this text. And this text is automatically generated. I did not write this. What you see on the screen, we generated 8 conversions between May 1st and May 31st. And it was an increase compared to the previous total of 4. Very understandable, plain English types of things. It didn't even use CPA or abbreviations and stuff like that. It was very straightforward. This was written by a software. Software. It was written.
So the first time you made this report for the bakery, you did not come in here and write, we generated X
Right.
conversions between X
Yeah.
date range. You didn't write that. It auto-populated, and scroll up to the spend summary, Chris.
Yeah. Here's
It
the spend summary.
auto-populated this one as well, and scroll up
Yep.
to the KPI one at the top, key performance
Yep.
indicators.
That's the
Before you
original
ruined
report
it,
there.
there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
that looks
look
good.
at what it
Yeah.
says on this summary page. This is such human language, and it's automatically generated. So you could create report and send without typing any of this. And the language on the report, over the reporting period, we spent a total of $30 to generate 8 conversions. Our average cost per conversion dropped by $7. I mean, this is so clear and concise, and the fact that it's generated for you, I mean, this is what gets me excited about the Opteo reporting stuff, because this is not something that you see anywhere else. It's really unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how they make it bold there. So if you need to change those numbers, you can, or date ranges, you can very quickly know what to change.
Yeah. And just briefly scrolling through here, I mean, there's impressions, there's clicks, and by the way, you can.
And by the way, Chris, I was about to say, you don't have to have some of these slides if you don't want them.
Yeah, right here at the top, I can click remove slide. Boom, the slide's gone. Right, and then you didn't even include that. If you don't want to get into a certain cost per conversion or ROAS that's in here, you just remove it and it's done. And then you can update the report and it's gone in the report from here forward. Just so interesting. And then Jason, there's one other thing on the screen here. You talked about the advice. The advice tab right here over on the left side talks about how to write your own commentary, how to address this topic. But there's also an insights tab, and this is the kind of stuff that just blows my mind. It makes me think, how far till the robot apocalypse happens, because it says right here, spend has been below target 6 times in a row. If other metrics look healthy, consider adjusting your budget range. Like, it tells you, hey, you didn't have to just go pull up Google Ads or pull up a report from something else to determine what the budget is and that you've been below target every time. This is telling you that that's been happening, and you can mention that in your write-up or something like that. I mean, this gives you insights into this stuff, but it's not necessarily written in a customized commentary on the slide itself.
Even for a Google Ads manager, just kind of seeing the data presented this way with those insights like that are a different look at it, you may think like, wow, okay, let's go take a look at search impression share. Then you might communicate to your client like, hey, you've been allocating this, but we've maxed out our impression share. Maybe we should look at a new campaign or a new topic to target.
And then last, this is, they're scrolling through, and this is always the question you get when you're doing a report like this. It's going to say something like, okay, so I saw all that. So what are next steps? What does all that mean? What do we do now? Now it's the next month. That's great for last month. What are we doing now? And here, again, what blows my mind, this is auto-generated. This is something you can customize these bullet points, but there is an entire slide here that just says next steps, moving forward. Here's what the things we're going to be working on. And if you don't enter in anything here, it'll add some things based on what Opteo sees you improving in the account. If you're going through the account, grinding through things, it's going to change these based on what's happening. In this example, it says improving our overall quality score. That's what they're working. That's what the system says that it's trying to work towards. And then it goes through a couple wins for the month. Cost per conversion was reduced. Things like that. So to add just a quick C-level kind of summary that someone can look at and understand in a blink what's happening and what's forward. Again, I keep saying it, but I've never seen anything like it. And the amount of time and creativity power that this removes from your plate is immeasurable.
Yeah, totally. Now, do we want to hit a preview here, Chris?
Yeah. So and there's a conclusion and there's a few hidden slides. So just lots more options. You hit the preview report, and it takes away all the customization stuff, and now you get to actually see what it looks like. This is what the PDF will generate: clean, readable. Just
professional.
Yeah, it looks so nice. The commentaries on the right The graph is on the left. It doesn't take 15 metrics and throw them to you at once on a screen. You get to see it line by line. It's great. And to think that all this is included in the Opteo package along with their, optimization suite that they already offer, it's just it's impressive. It's impressive.
All right, Chris. Well, this was a lot of fun. Everyone knows what to do. We'll have a link in the description to Opteo. Chris, we will be back next week with the next episode of the Paid Search Podcast, and we'll see everybody then. See you.